Hey guys, Palsteron here, and today let's talk about a pretty nasty reveal that GG just dropped on us regarding the Scion. In this video, I'll catch you up on most of the reveals that I find interesting. For example, what will happen to Breach, but we'll talk about that a little bit later. Right now, I want to focus on the Scion. GG just dropped a pretty cryptic video. I'll just run it for a sec. Now, there's obviously a lot of speculation regarding this. Is this a Scion rework? Is it an Ascendant rework? Or is it an additional Ascendancy to the Scion? But there's a little bit more to it. We'll get to it. The first thing I want to say is if you've never played Freesia before, just know that, for example, on POB down here, you can go to 3.27 alternate. This is kind of what you can pick if you are in a Freesia event. These are alternate Ascendancies across the board, and one of those is the Scavenger, and that is the one shown off. Do note, however, that the numbers we have from the video are pre-buff numbers, so they're old numbers, which makes it even more likely that this will make it into the main game. First up, why would they drop something Freesia related this, like, close to the next league? It would be a complete bait. So most likely this has to do with the main game. But the interpretations here vary, especially because later in the video, there is this that happens. And it's not just a frame, right? It's not just a hint. It's for a full second where everything goes blank. This, if you don't know, Scavenger is themed around unique items. So for example, what is the most interesting part of the Soul Taker unique? It is the insufficient mana doesn't prevent your melee attack and physical can chill. There you go. That's on here. Or Starforge, right? It's even named after the unique items. Now, what a lot of people are saying is this might mean that we can make our own Ascendancy, maybe with something like unique tattoos, where you can pick and choose what unique you want to drag in. Obviously, it would be balanced, and you could not do all of them, because that would be absolute chaos. But it could be a system like that where you can, for example, farm a Starforge, then sacrifice it, and then you can use Starforge in the Scion Ascendancy. And that's pretty cool, right? So either this is another Scion Ascendancy, so we get a second Ascendancy, or it will be an Ascendant replacement because that is what's currently in the base game. And I think people who say that aren't too far off because Scion has been a little bit outdated. Some of them have been updated with the reworks of the actual Ascendancies, but this kind of jack of all trades thing only really works if they adjust what the Ascendancies do whenever they get changed as well. I'm gonna propose something that's a little bit more far-fetched. I think there might be a third Scion Ascendancy on the way. See, Scion is the jack of all trades Ascendancy. That is how it is laid out. It's in the middle of the tree, very obvious. But there was always something missing for me. So the first Ascendancy, the Ascendant, is the, let's just mix all the Ascendancies together. You kind of pick and choose whatever you want. Now that makes sense to me. The second one, if they add it, is a mixture of all unique items. Okay, so the Scavenger gets into the game and you can kind of pick and choose sort of like this new Ascendancy is right here. Maybe you can pick and choose. Maybe they're predetermined. They might even be determined by the league. Maybe this swaps from league to league. Who knows? But see, one thing that never made sense to me is how is there no attribute class or attribute related class? Scion is the only Ascendancy that starts with an even amount of all three attributes. It is once again the jack of all trades, and there's nothing really attribute themed other than these pathing nodes that just don't really fit here. I don't know what they're doing right here because there is zero things that you can actually do with attributes or themed around attributes. Which gets me to my theory, if we're getting a third Ascendancy and it is attribute based, I think it will be a Aristocrat. Now, if you don't know what Aristocrat is and you haven't played Freesia before, Aristocrat is on the Duelist, which personally to me makes no sense. If you don't know what this Ascendancy is, it is a Duelist Ascendancy that has +1 passive skill points right here for points, kind of like Scion already has. And it has a theme around, once again, passive points, and it has a theme around attributes. So you can see right here, 40% int, 40% strength, or 40% dex, kind of mimicking what Cyclopean Coil does. And at the end here, you have the big node that holds it all together. This node just got buffed last Freesia, and it's completely ridiculous. 8% increased damage per 5 of your lowest attribute. It used to be 5, and it used to be already good, and they buffed it for whatever reasons. Now, I just want to say that this does not at all feel like a Duelist Ascendancy. I don't know what this is. You could say, oh, but PoE2, Gemling Legionnaire, or whatever. It's like, I don't understand why like aristocrat. Doesn't sound very dualisty to me, and this definitely has nothing to do. It's even weird to put it on duelist because duelist is dex strength based, and this is a tri-attribute ascendancy. Where this would make real sense is on a Scion. It even has this all skill and attribute requirement and exceptional support gems. It's a very generalized ascendancy. Now, what I also think will happen is these grants one passive skill point will swap with Ascendant. What we will have is, we'll have the normal Scion Ascendancy getting that point right here, and the attribute nodes going to the actual attribute Scion Ascendancy. Just makes more sense. Now, the downside for putting the aristocrat into the game, though, is quite obvious. First, we're not going to get the buff numbers. This is going to be 30% from pre-buff, and this is going to be 5 per 5 from the pre-buff, because this would be way too crazy to put into the base game right now. The second downside is this might even mean that stat sectors will get nerfed, simply because they're already dominating, and now giving them the perfect ascendancy to go along is probably a pretty bad, like, it's a recipe for disaster. But that is way too much outrageous speculation right now. I just think it's quite interesting to think about this because, once again, Scion is the only class with only one ascendancy right now. My last quickie speculation here is that this could just have to do with the league mechanic. If you look at this, maybe the Scion has some ties to Marikev. I have no idea. I'm not really a lore guy. Maybe somebody in the comments can tell me if this has any chance of being at all connected to this newly themed 3.28. But it could be that this is just like the league mechanic, kind of like in Affliction, where we had a whole league with Affliction ascendancies, then they just completely went away. Either way, those are just my 2 cents for the whole speculation genre. Let's go over to something a little bit more grounded, which is Breach will actually be in the base game. Now, this is both not surprising and surprising at the same time. Not surprising because there's a lot of new art assets here. The Genesis tree is very much thought out. There is a story element to this. No spoilers if you haven't done it yet. That just makes it kind of clear that it fits into the base game. Very unlikely they're just going to throw this away. However, I am surprised that the tree is staying because it seems like a lot of power creep for the future and just another system that is going to be accessible on the waypoints. They will at some point have to make a little bit space here. But it is surprising in the sense that I thought they would give us a little bit more of an insight of what they're going to change with Breach. I've seen a lot of discussions about this on Reddit where people are very like negative about, oh, they just throw it into the base game without anything. But I want to see first what the Scarabs do, and also they always make changes and they know people hate walls. So even though they do say that both the unstable and the Hive Breach encounters are going to be still in the game, that does not mean that it's going to be implemented exactly like it is last league. And they're usually pretty good whenever, like, even leagues that aren't as liked, they usually become good to semi-good whenever they put it into the main game one league later. Now, the last thing they teased is this picture right here, which seems to be Marikev themed. I'm not really a lore guy, but I would highly recommend checking out the video by Dreamcore where he talks about it and goes a little bit more in depth on some of the speculation. Other than that, hope you guys enjoyed the video, and for all the crazy people on Reddit, this is how you put your scrolls. All right.